So hi everyone, welcome. Thank you all for tuning in to today's Remote-a-thon series. This event hosted by Guru. Here at Guru, we are a collaborative knowledge management solution, and we're really excited to be featuring rock stars like Jordan across CX, sales enablement, IT, and operations in this Remote-a-thon series. So more to come if you like what you hear today. You'll have other opportunities to tune in and learn some really inspiring stuff. We're absolutely thrilled and so grateful to be hosting Jordan today from Handshake. The conversation is going to cover three kind of bigger topics within this higher level theme of building a 21st century CX team. And then at the end, we'll close the session with some Q&A. So keep the questions coming in. So with that, I'll just briefly introduce myself and then turn it over to the real star of the show. And let's see here. Okay. So my name's Elizabeth Powell. I'm originally from Atlanta. And then after one too many Northeast winters, I made the trek out west to San Francisco. I've been at Guru for almost a year, and I'm a senior manager on the product marketing team, specifically focused on the customer experience, customer support, customer success use case and aspect of our business. So really thrilled to be joined here today by a woman who is an incredibly inspiring and really forward-thinking leader in the world of CX, and who also works at a company that I think is driving really important and positive change in the world. So without further ado, Jordan, could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you, your team, and about Handshake?
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you and the wonderful Guru team for having me today, and thank all of you to tuning in. As Elizabeth said, I'm Jordan Pedraza, and I lead our wonderful global support team at Handshake. Coming to you live from the best town in the world, Oakland, and that's where I was born and raised. And I've been at Handshake for about 3.5 years now. And I have to say, it's quite a time to be a human right now, I think, for all of us, and to be in this role, to be at Handshake, and just leading a team through all this. This all hits us in so many ways in our teams, but I'm humbled and grateful to be here and to reflect with all of you on what I've learned. And the key thing that has come up for me time and time again through everything going on is how we show up for each other and our teams. And that's what's gotten me here. I love learning. I love doing things I didn't think I could do or didn't know how to do before. And I love doing that with others. And that's what really rings true for me, for my team. We're only as good as our people. And even though CX impacts a company in so many ways, it's more than support. It's really about advocating for our teams. And the one thing that no one can ever take away from you or us or our teams is how you help them grow and give them the wherewithal to realize their full potential.
Love that so much.
Thank you. Yeah. And I guess that's a perfect segue into more about Handshake.
Yep.
So we could talk a little bit more about that. So Handshake, we're a college career network to help current students and recent grads find internships, jobs, and really build the foundation of their career. And even though we're not doing physical handshakes these days, we're still trying to give everyone a virtual handshake because it really sets the trajectory for the rest of your life. We've seen that since the last Great Recession, almost 50% of recent grads can remain underemployed for even 10 years after the fact. So we're really trying to level the playing field and access to these opportunities and connections. And so that means we're a three-sided marketplace, B2B to C. We're working with millions of students and alumni. We're working with career centers at colleges and universities across the US and UK. And we're working with a lot of employers, everyone from mom and pops to Fortune 500s in building this network and ecosystem.
Wow.
Yeah, and then a little bit more about our team that supports all of this. So we're just a little over 20 strong, and we've been distributed before it was cool. So yeah, I know everyone's doing that now, at least hopefully wherever they can. We do have offices in San Francisco, Denver, and London, but our team has always been distributed, and the rest of our company is now working that way too. So we've been leading the charge there. And as far as the channels we provide, pretty standard: email, phone, community forums and webinars. We also did experiment with live chat earlier this year and last year, and that's a separate chat about chat. And as
We
far
might
as
need to bring you on for round 2.
Oh, totally. That's a whole separate story. And as far as the scope we got, we have about 100,000 tickets per year. And in addition to helping our school students and employers, we also do documentation with our external help center and our internal knowledge base. Shout out to Guru. And we also got trust and safety. And that's looking for all the fun stuff: fraud, scams, spam, harassments. And support ops, all of the tools and infrastructure that support. So that's a little bit about who we are and what we do.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that introduction, Jordan. I'm really inspired by Handshake's mission. And I think, it's perhaps, to your point, more important than ever right now that you and your team are really empowered to successfully support all of these customers and users and stakeholders. As you talked about it, though, it must be really complex because, you have a 3-sided marketplace, you're B2B to B, B2B to C. And with all those different users and stakeholders to support, where do you even begin to think about building the right partnerships to really set your team up for success?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a lot of stakeholders, a lot of audiences we support, a lot of features to keep in mind. And so first, at a high level, when we think about cultivating these partnerships, it's really about building a movement. It's beyond just showing up for your team and advocating for them. You got to do those things for sure.
Yeah.
But I challenge us all to do more than that. Don't just put our heads down and do a good job and then that's it. You're really campaigning and changing the way everyone you work with thinks about you and your team and support. So it's not enough to just talk the talk and just say CX instead of support. It really takes a company-wide commitment and effort. And so you need to create this cross-functional village of partnerships and relationships and advisors, because that's going to build the right infrastructure for you and your team to grow into your CX careers and journeys. So how do you go about doing that? Step one is it's kind of a marketing exercise. Again, we're building this campaign and movement. So you have to use intentional language and how people think about and understand your work and impact. And that's really the inspiration of this talk. I think even the word support doesn't do it justice. We do so much more than that. But does your team know? Do your customers know? Do your internal stakeholders and the rest of your company know that? Because when they think of support, I think they think of us on our laptops and phones, ticket, bugs, escalations, maybe some viral stories that have gone out there. But when you take a step back, you have to ask yourself, well, why do all these calls exist? Why do these emails happen? Why do you have to have support? And it turns out we're really generalists. We are like a Swiss Army knife. We're detectives, we're technical writers, we're PR, we're data analysts, we're consultants, we're marketing and sales. Oh, and still a little bit of support too. And so it's really about unblocking your users. So we're unblocking our students and employers and our schools. It's about being change agents. We're being thought and operational partners with them, helping them find the solutions they need. And we're R&D. We're sitting on tons of data insight, so we can be the canary in the coal mine and look at what's going to happen down the road and make things even better. So it's really important to think about how do you reframe that work and keep telling that story over and over again. And then the second aspect of that is making friends in high places. So I found that you have to get personal and create symbiotic relationships with other stakeholders and partners. Because when you succeed together, everyone will win. And I want to shout out a particular good friend to have, finance. I think they're not talked about enough. I think it's kind of an understated one, but it's really critical, especially during these times where we're fighting for whatever budget we can. And so my partnership with finance goes back to my beginning in Handshake. Back in 2017, we were growing immensely and we needed to scale yesterday. And I got to know our head of finance and biz ops. Her name's Jennifer Ng. She's fantastic. I got to know her really well and created a personal relationship. I shared with her all the ins and outs of our operation, our learnings and challenges. And then she helped us revamp our staffing model and identify the right trends and metrics and goals that would help things get in a better spot. And so that partnership now has allowed us to really model and forecast out what we're going to need and spend our resources more wisely. But then it also gave me the tools to better advocate for future CX roles and growth down the road. So specifically, I've used our staffing model and our tools to show the impact of investing in things like documentation, or trust and safety or the team structure. And so when you can bring it back to dollars and cents to finance, that's really powerful. And then also that's a great partnership to bring to other teams. So like with product and engineering, we can quantify not only the volume, but the cost of what the impact may be if we make other improvements. So it's really gone a long way. And I think it further tells your team and your story in a huge way.
I love that. And I love how you talk about really the paradigm shift needed in terms of even just the language that we use and how support is really like a Swiss Army knife. It's interesting as a product marketer, I also feel that my partnership with support is critical for the success of both of our teams and frankly, the whole company. You know, June is on the line and one of my most valuable relationships is with her. She's the customer support manager, particularly during our product launches, but we're working together every day. And so yeah, I totally can relate to the importance of those cross-functional partnerships. I want to open it up to the audience now and do a quick poll. So which partnership has been most beneficial to your team? And let me just launch the poll and then I'll give you just 30 seconds or so to get the answers in.
The other thing that I think is interesting, depending on the stage of your company and team, and we're going to talk about that in the next section, I think the partnerships you need may evolve too. You definitely want to build a strong network and village across everywhere, but maybe at certain stages or depending on what problems you have to solve, you might need to lean in more with product or marketing or sales.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So yeah, we never get bored of making all the friends we can.
All right, it looks like just about everyone has answered. So I'm gonna end the poll now and share results. So pretty interesting. We see, and perhaps unsurprising, that it's not just one of the cross-functional teams that everyone is like, this is the most important partnership. And I think, you know, you see product on here, you see engineering, success, finance, biz ops. I think it really speaks to what you were talking about, how it takes a village of partnerships.
Totally. And I think it's a reminder for us to stay open and agile in building new partnerships that we may not think on paper makes a lot of sense, but who knows? It could end up helping you all out.
Totally. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna close out the poll. And so we talked about how support takes a village and the importance of building partnerships with cross-functional stakeholders and teams. Now I want to go back to something that you had said towards the beginning of your talk, which is that support folks are really generalists. So I want to double click on that a bit and understand, how do you, Jordan, how do you approach hiring to build your support team? What is it that you're looking for in your candidates and in the composition of your team?
Yeah, great question. So the first high level things I would start with is we have to zoom out a bit with hiring. It can't be done in a vacuum. You really need to know and understand your company's stage and trajectory, because then you can use that to find out what do you need to look for in building your team at different stages and what you're going to need in the future. Yeah. And so I think also in hiring, there's a tendency to just focus on specific past roles and companies and skills. But I challenge us to shift our approach to hire for attitude and your stage, and then train for skills instead. And when we've made that shift, you can't really go wrong, because this work we do is so fluid and generalized. And so it's really about having that right mindset and attitude, so that you can tap into that and then people can learn the rest. So specifically, what kind of stages do you need to keep in mind and what do you look for? So at the very beginning, you know, your seed stage, and this can apply to your whole company, a specific squad on your team, a new office or location, or even a new audience or product. You need firefighters. You're doing all the things. It's kind of a mess. You're wearing all the hats, no structure, no management, no process, just do all the things. And so for the people you want there, they need to be self-starters, gritty, resilient, and resourceful, because they're just putting out fires and helping things move along. Then when you start to get to the middle stages, finding product market fit or getting to the hyper growth stage, that's where you need to start to introduce a little bit more playbooks and process, maybe your first management layer. So you want the builders. You still need that grit and resilience, but you also need more accountability and ownership and people that want to add a little bit more structure and repeatable process. And then when you get to the scale stage, it's really about maintaining and protecting. And so that's where you can have even more flexibility and freedom with the different personas you might have on your team. You want to have a mix and have that good balance. But you also need to make sure you have people that are innovators, system thinkers, collaborators, because that's going to really help you maintain all the hard work you've done. And then getting into the specifics and nuts and bolts of it. So actually in a past life, I thought I wanted to be a user experience researcher. Didn't go down that route, but I still get to work with them really closely at Handshake. It's another great partnership that I recommend. And I've learned that there's a lot of great principles from that world that you can apply to hiring for CX. So from a more general kind of high level standpoint, I think we need to think about the hiring process as a continuous feedback loop. So when you're building and launching products, you know, there's a lot of phases. You got to develop it, get some feedback, see how it does in the wild, and then iterate and go from there. I think the same applies to hiring. You're always testing, okay, well, what do you need for your team at that given time? And then how do those hires do? What happens with them? What works, what doesn't? And then go back and apply, oh, okay, we need to look for this profile or this kind of approach and bring that into the fold. So specifically, some things to help you understand that. A first step in UX research is to really minimize bias. You don't want to lead the end user to have them tell you the answer that you just want to hear. And then you also want to have the process be very predictable and kind of easy to follow. The same applies with interviewing. So first, and use encouraging language. Be very open and supportive. Help people bring their best selves forward. And also this will ensure that you can hire for a representative and diverse team. You also want to make sure you are upfront with your process. What are you looking for? What's the desired fit? And then use the same nuts and bolts, have the same script, the same rubric, the same interview panelists. Because in that way, you're trying to minimize bias as much as possible. The second thing that we see in user research that I think applies really well here too, is you, again, don't want to ask leading questions or close people off to just yes or no, or even just ask them why. That could put them on the defense. Instead, what led you to do that? How are you thinking about this? And then just keep probing with follow-up questions. It should really be more of a dialogue. And ask for all the possibilities in a question or a problem, you know, because then you can really see how they think through things, which gets into my next recommendation. Instead of asking for hypotheticals, we don't do that in UX research, right? It's kind of leading. Instead, just zoom in on past examples. Tell me about the last time you had to troubleshoot something. Tell me about the last time you had to say no to a customer or colleague. And then you dig into a time-based specific example, because then you see what is their default response. And we do this ourselves throughout the process. We ask it in our application screening questions, and we ask it throughout our interview. So we're looking for that consistency to really understand their approach. And then finally, have them show and not just talk about their work. And a common practice to do that is have take-home exercises in interviews or doing it live in the interview. And so we actually give people access to our help center, our demo product, and we throw in real questions we've gotten in the queue. So then we can see what will they make of our materials and how are they going to approach this? How are they going to communicate the issue? How are they going to be resourceful? So we don't have to go into hypotheticals. We don't have to take any guesses. We see what we get. And then the other thing you want to do is mimic your work environment in the interview process. So we've always been distributed. So we do all of our interviews over Zoom, whether it's a one-on-one hiring manager interview or a group interview, because that's how you're going to interact with the team.
You know, I just, I love it so much. And some of these recommendations, they sound on the surface a bit simple, but I'm laughing as I think back to the rounds and rounds of interviews I've been through where this is not a lot of interviewers' defaults. And I wish that you could just, you know, on the side, coach all hiring managers. I think we would all be better off. But no, thank you for that. I think that's really important. And I also love how you were talking about the importance of being hyper aware of the stage of your company when you're building the team and thinking about who you need and what the composition should look like and how that should evolve as your company grows. I'm curious now to hear from the audience, what kind of backgrounds do you all have on your team? And I'm going to launch the next poll. Okay. Oh,
and while you put that together, I think the other thing we've learned is we need to be more open about understanding a candidate's journey and their life experiences, because that will also help you understand their motivations, their approach, how did they overcome any challenges or adversity. And then the other thing, I think the beauty of CX is that it's a bit more democratized. There's a lot of different backgrounds that can be relevant in it. And we've had former pie shop owners, shout out to Alex here on the line, who now lead premium support. We've had we've had veterans now leading trust and safety. Shout out to Jace. Gabe also on the line. He's had a background in IT and programming, and that's been awesome for university support. So it's kind of serendipitous in how we get from A to B in our lives and careers. But let's harness that. Let's keep an open mind and bring that into the fold.
Totally. All right, we're just about, okay, perfect. I will share the results. Again, I think it's just so exciting for me to see how varied the backgrounds can be. And I think it points to what you were talking about how like, it's really important to be clear on the qualities you're looking for and not just that they have that explicit, support background.
Yeah, I think the sales one's kind of fun. That's another thing we've been learning a lot, and Alex could definitely do another talk on that. We've learned we have to put on our sales hat a lot more because we see potential new leads in our queue that can benefit from our other premium services. So actually having people that have had that sales background has been a perfect fit, on that team. So it's really fun.
I love that you mentioned that. That's something actually that our founder, Rick, talks about, support as really being a revenue generator and not a cost center. So I love that. Okay, I'm gonna get out of the poll. So now we've covered the importance of building internal partnerships and how to best approach hiring for success, particularly as a company is growing. As an industry though, support tends to have pretty high turnover. And it makes sense. It can be really, really, really tough work. So how do you recommend nurturing folks once they do make it through your doors and creating a really fulfilling, meaningful experience for them?
Absolutely. So to start at a high level, going back to keeping things simple, I think we've learned there's a tendency to force people down paths that may not be a fit and having them do things they don't like or they're not good at. And that sounds kind of harmful and like defensive and closed-minded, but really it's the opposite. We had a guest fireside chat speaker at Handshake turn this on its head. Her name's Annette Rivas. She used to be the VP of HR at Facebook. And she said we should do the opposite. Just let people do what they love and what they're good at. And since we've adopted that approach, that's unlocked so much more because lives are not long. We only have one shot to make the most of it, and let's do things that we're passionate about. And I think that's a great gift that you can give to your team. So really then it's about how do you create opportunities to tap into those passions and what they love and what they're good at to help them grow. So specifically how we've done that, first is, we can get to the next slide. There we go. So you gotta have a roadmap. You gotta have a career level framework. And this does a few things. One, it just gives it more concrete explanation and guidance on where people can grow on your team and at your company. And then also it gives more clear expectations on what you're looking for in order for people to grow. And the ways you can do that, and this can apply to any stage. I think even the earlier you are on, the better. But it's really about looking at an individual's impact and how does that grow over time, first to the team and then maybe other teams and then the whole business. It may also be about the channels that they do support on. It may be about how many people they can help in the same time, but at the same quality, maybe faster efficiency or handling gnarlier issues. And then maybe they're being more of a liaison or partner across different teams. And maybe they're having to build entire processes or playbooks for certain functions. And the other thing I want to call out is maybe everyone says they want to be a manager, but you can't have a team of all managers. Your finance team is going to be friends with you. And then also who's going to cover the queue. So what you can do is, okay, you have some paths for management, but also this is where CX can come in. You need to have other functions. What about trust and safety? How do people think about your brand? Do they want to, believe in it? And then how do you keep your community safe? Documentation. You need to have your knowledge managed internally and externally, right? That's a powerful tool to help you scale. So who's going to cover that? And then operations and infrastructure. We all use a really rich support stack out there. There's things like QA, there's things about all the nuts and bolts that make it happen. So that's another way to give people paths to grow into, and tapping into, okay, are you more about handling data and, you know, getting all these gears in order? Or do you like developing policy and strategy and advocating for that? Or do you love just managing all the knowledge and articles that we have and making sure it's helping your team and your customers? So it's a really great way to give people incentives and structure and change that along the way with their compensation, their title, their responsibilities, their scope, and professional development. And then the other thing we've done is a rotational program. So this is pretty new for us. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. So it kind of brings us back to middle school, where you had your homeroom, but then you had your elective wheel. This is the elective wheel. And so this is great because it doesn't matter what stage your company or team is in. This can work for a small team or a really big one. For us, it kind of came out of necessity. As we've grown, we have more coverage. You know, we got to cover uni, premium support, tech support, trust and safety, documentation, voice of the customer. And so what we've done is, well, we've noticed sometimes one queue is a little quieter than another. So let's take a couple people out and then have them go on a rotation for that week. You know, okay, you're going to learn more about how we do product feedback or trust and safety, or things like that. And then over time, that gives people exposure to areas they might want to dig into more. And then you have more coverage. So let's say your primary person's out, you've got a backup ready to go. And I think it creates more sense of alignment and collaboration and community on your team, because then everyone knows a little bit more about each other's worlds. And so they're going to be even more effective in their roles, no matter what they're doing. And you'll probably come up with other ways to really make it a more seamless experience. So highly recommend it. Whether you're a small and mighty team or really growing, it's a great way to structuralize how people explore different paths and expand your knowledge.
I love that. And I think this is a bit different, but we've talked a lot about having everyone who joins do a rotation on our support team. And that is to get product knowledge, but also to build empathy and to start building those connections with support, kind of to your point. So I love that.
Yeah. So just kind of to recap what we talked about today, there's really the three key things that we've learned. The first is nurturing and telling your CX story, internally and externally. Shift your mindset, shift your language, and market it continuously. That's really about building this movement and campaign. And you can't do it alone. Integrate your team and function at all levels and all functions, and really create these partnerships, because that's going to be your infrastructure for growth. The second thing is about hiring for the journey. Hire for attitude, train for skills. My manager at Handshake, our VP of Higher Ed and Student Success, Christine Cruz-Vergara, that was one of her principles she told me when we've agonized over hires. You know, on the fence, I don't know. She said, Jordan, hire for attitude, train for skills. And she's right. So look at people's holistic background and life experience, and then map that to the needs of your team and company's future. Also, you can use some tricks and tips from user experience research to make your process more open and transparent and democratized. And then finally, love and knowledge are power. So tapping into our people's passions and what they're good at, and then creating frameworks and programs for them to explore those passions and really bring them to life. And then that also allows you to build ways to build more community on your team, because that's really what it's all about these days. And I think just to leave us with one last thought here, what also has helped me through, you know, any time, particularly harder ones, is gratitude. And I think we all are very lucky that we get to be in the position to impact and change people's lives and impact the trajectory for them and their families. And this is how we do this. These are the tools and gifts that they can use for the rest of their lives and careers. And I challenge us all to be strategic in how we build and enable and grow a 21st century CX team.
First of all, wow. Thank you so much, Jordan. I think I speak for everyone tuned in when I say this has been incredibly insightful, and I'm so excited, frankly, for my own team to incorporate your actionable tips and recommendations in terms of partnerships, hiring, team development. You really are just such a forward-thinking leader, and personally, I'm really energized about the future of support at Handshake and CX at Handshake under your leadership.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. With the time remaining, I now want to open things up to the audience for some Q&A. I see we have a couple questions that have come in. Please keep them coming in. But to start, so this is from June. Jordan, this is awesome. Curious how you forecasted or scheduled for this type of rotation. Are there busier or lighter seasons where you can adjust for these outside projects versus focusing on the queue?
Yeah, that's an excellent question in the heart of it. So going back to our partnership with finance, I really encourage everyone to have a staffing model. You got to be able to forecast out your volume so you know when those busier times of the year are going to be and when you're going to have those low periods. Because then you can plan ahead and think about it maybe in terms of quarters. So we know for us, usually in ed tech, back to school is the busiest season. Now, funnily enough, you may think, oh my God, in a busy season, you're going to try to do a rotational program. Well, we're in that position because all the types of volume are growing, right? We got to cover trust and safety. We got to cover premium. We got to cover voice of the customer. So what that means is we just got to look at, you know, what our volume forecast is going to be and figure out the right schedule for our team to be able to flex over and cover the other areas that need to. So we're actually refining that right now. But so far what we've learned is a weekly rotation works pretty well because then that way it still keeps people fresh. But I think if you have it too frequent, like every day, that's going to be too much. But also if you wait too long, like, oh, maybe once a month or once a quarter, it's not going to keep you agile and fresh. So we first look at when are things going to be busy. Let's just have a really tight schedule. And we set up some rules and parameters. Okay, if this queue hits here, we got to move these people over. But also have priorities on, okay, what are your SLAs? Where do you want to at least prioritize if you must? And then in the quieter seasons, you know, then you can be more generous with your schedule too.
Yeah. I have a quick follow-up. Just curious regarding what happens after the rotation. So have you seen folks get really excited about a particular function and then evolve into really leaning into that as a bigger part of their roles?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so far we've seen people surprised by what things they're excited about.
Yeah.
We have another colleague who at first was hesitant about trust and safety. She'd been really great at uni and that was awesome. And she was kind of skeptical. But as she did her first fraud investigation, she realized, ooh, this is fun. I want more. And so that's the beauty of it. You got to have people, let them dip their toe in. And then if they love it, well, great. They can be the backup. They can be that secondary. If things are on fire, if the first person is out, if they leave, then, you know, they're in a great position to take that over. And so that's also what we learned on tech support. Back in 2017, where we didn't know as much, we just had one person. Well, what if they were out? What if there was a fire? We were screwed. So now we have a squad of, I think, 3 now. And Gabe is on the line. He's one of them, where they've also learned how to do tech support, and that's tapped into their interests. And it's like, great. So whenever that primary person moves on or helps with other projects, or is out, they get to step up in that capacity. So it's a really great way to help people kind of shift their roles and expand them. And gives them more options for growth, especially if things change in the future.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, so another question. How is COVID-19 changing how you think about managing your team and the tools you use?
Ooh, yeah, it's another relevant question. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So again, I keep saying, keep things simple, but you know, what's helped first is going back to your team and people, making sure they're okay, you know, basic needs, and just continuously to check in and creating those spaces for them to do that. So we've done that a lot on our team, and we actually implemented support donuts. It's a Slack bot that automatically pairs people together for a virtual random chat. And the team loves it. It's just a guaranteed protected space for us to check in with each other. And then a lot of our sub squads also do daily stand-ups and just check in. So it could be work stuff, it could be non-work stuff. So I think that has really shifted how we make that even more of a priority and make more space for us to just catch our breath, make sure we're okay as humans, and be supportive of each other. The other thing I would say that's changed for us is obviously the impact to our business. And we're all in different industries, different products are impacted. So for us, we're right on the front lines.
Yep.
Schools are closing and they're virtual now. Students are looking for jobs and internships.
Yep.
Employers have to do all of their recruiting from home now or virtually.
Yep.
And so now it's caused us to learn more about the industries we work in and what are they going through and getting a pulse on that. And then making sure we understand where they're coming from so that we can better help them and know and anticipate what their needs are going to be. So that meant, oh, let's create a bunch more articles on how to look for remote jobs or how to run a virtual event or how to maximize virtual student engagement. So kind of getting ahead of the curve to at least give them one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
So I'd say we're more proactive than other. And then for us, kind of going back to the rotational program I've been talking about, we're learning how to be more agile and flexible. You know, we're building more virtual tools ourselves and we don't have all the answers yet. So we're learning, okay, how do we build this muscle to be more flexible, to expand our knowledge and to move things around and help each other out where we need to. So those are the big things that I would say have been top of mind.
That's great. Thank you for that. I think we have time for a couple more. So we see more automations and AI coming onto the CX scene. How might that inform operations and team building?
Yeah, and that kind of relates to the last question that was raised about the tools aspect.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting balance because on the one hand, you can over optimize for efficiency. You know, you can find a way to close out any ticket without human intervention if you really wanted to. But is that the value of what we do, of support, of CX, and as we head into this 21st century, because time is a little bit more of a bendy construct these days. But I think humans are going to be even more needed, as weird as that sounds. You know, you need that touch, you need that care, because we're dealing with all kinds of crazy things. So it's really about what can make your team's lives easier. You know, what are the low-hanging fruit that, you know, isn't worth really spending our time, and then saving that more for the more complex, higher touch, complicated things where we can be more of an advisor, a partner, a consultant, because everyone's dealing with a lot of different things that all relate. And a bot, automations are going to miss those nuances. They're not going to know that, okay, all of the Cal State system is online for the fall. You know, they're not going to know, ooh, like we just had to furlough all of our recruiters. And if you just say, thanks for your question, that's not going to go well. So, so how can you at least leverage these tools to give you the insights you need, take care of the manual tasks, so then you can focus more on the bigger picture, connecting the dots, being that thought partner.
Yeah, I can totally relate to everything you're just talking about. And I've been doing a lot of reading on how customer needs are shifting in really dramatic ways through this time. And I was reading about how, like, sometimes now customers don't just want the refund policy, they want like a therapist. They want to know that things are going to be okay, you know? And so to your point, we really do need those humans on the other end that can deliver help and service with empathy. So I love that. All right. How does hiring and team development compare between co-located versus distributed teams? And then the follow-up there is, now that we're more distributed, how might we incorporate that into building our teams?
Yeah, and going back to what I was saying with language, one of my colleagues said this recently, even the terms we use. Oftentimes we may say remote, but that implies there's less value in not being in the HQ or in the office. Think about that. That blew my mind. So instead, really we're distributed. We're all over the place, but it doesn't put a value on whether you're in HQ, whether you're working from home or whatever, or working at home during a crisis. So that's the first thing I would say, is just making sure you're intentional with the language you use and how you talk about that. So that's why co-located and distributed are really helpful to equalize that field. But as far as kind of hiring and team development, so as I mentioned earlier, you really want to mimic the environment that people are going to work in. So you can see how they'll interact in that, and also to give them a more honest sense of what they're getting into. I think it works for both ends. So obviously, because if we're all distributed right now, then all of your process has to be that way.
Right.
But over communicate with your candidates, like tell them what to expect. Hey, click on this Zoom link here. We're going to send you this separate invite. So just lay out everything, because it can be a little bit more confusing. Give grace. You know, we're going to have internet connection issues. Cameras may not work. There may be lag. Have people's phone numbers in case you need to go to that. And just understand where everyone's coming from. If someone only has a tablet to dial into, or they're not able to have a video camera, that's okay. That's why phone is really helpful.
Or if their kids screaming in the background,
exactly,
or whatever it is.
And again, as they're interviewing you, I think everyone is looking at how did their companies operate during this time.
Totally.
So even how you interview, show up for that,
Yep.
So that's what I would say there. And as far as team development, I think I go back to, how do you create structure and programs and tools to bring people together as a community, and then also to support each other and grow. And so I think when you're co-located, I'm in an interesting position because I've been based in our SF office, but the whole team is just distributed around the world.
Yeah.
So I've seen both sides. And I've noticed co-located teams don't document things as much. They don't communicate over written channels as much. You just kind of assume we just talked about at our desk or in that meeting, we're good to go. Whereas with us, it has to be in Guru. It has to be in Slack. It has to be in email. If it wasn't documented, it didn't happen. And so it's been funny to see all of our teams now shift to being distributed. And they're having to learn that. Oh my God, how do we do our stand-up? We did it by the water cooler. You got to create a virtual water cooler then. How do we stay aligned with next steps, or what our priorities or resources are? You got to have a good knowledge management system. And the cool thing is, going back to growing our careers, those are great responsibilities to delegate people.
That's a great point.
Because I think, this is going to sound a little corny, but I think knowledge management is the CX gateway drug. Because what it does is it forces someone to really learn what's happening, whether it's the product or procedures or whatever, and then think about how do you disseminate that, and enable your teams. And then it also has you thinking about the customer experience and journey. Okay, what are the talking points? How are they going to receive that? And then how do I make sure we're all saying the same thing? So I would say that's the shift in, how you go about building and developing your team. Just being really thoughtful of the trade-offs and gaps and things that you get for free when you're all in person, that you have to put more work in when you're distributed, but it's so worth it. I think it makes us more empathetic and intentional and thoughtful. Even the little things, you got to Slack people to check in. Hey, happy Taco Tuesday. Hey, what do you have going on for the weekend? You're not going to have that in an office. So we never had that on our team, but now everyone has to think about that.
Well, if we can come out of all of this crisis being more empathetic, thoughtful, and intentional, as you just said, that would be huge. I think that we're nearly at time. So just wanted to say this has flown by. A quick note on the Guru side, join our community. We want to hear from you. We want to have more of these kinds of conversations, and to really be inspired by each other and grow together. There's a few ways you can get involved. You can join our Slack community, tune in to upcoming events, and then of course, check out more of these types of sessions through our Remote-a-thon series. But just wanted to thank you again, Jordan, for sharing your amazing wisdom with all of us. I'm so grateful for all the thought and insight you've provided. And to those tuning in, thank you for your time. I hope that you found this talk as insightful and inspiring and actionable as I did. You can tune in to hear from CX experts from FreshBooks, Slack, and Mode Analytics in upcoming events. And thank you, everyone. I hope you stay well during this time, and please don't hesitate to reach out if I can provide any help or answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And same here. We're all in this together,
really.
COVID or anything else or not. So yeah, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us. Take care.